Hello guys, welcome to another exciting video on Trading Kernel. In this video, we're going to be showing you guys how to build your forex robot using ChatGPT, and we actually did that. So we're going to be walking you through step by step on how we built our neural Rampage system version 1.0. Alright, this is not an in-depth video on how to use the neural Rampage bot. We are only going to walk you through the financial analysis section, how we built the bot, how we're able to download historical data, the machine learning section, and some other important things that you need to know in order to develop your own unique forex trading strategy using the ChatGPT. So let's move on here. This is going to be a little bit lengthy, but it's going to be worth your time. Okay, so we are currently using Jupyter Notebook for this strategy, and you can see we have a lot of files here. We have the backtesting files, we have the historical data download file, we have the financial analysis file, and we also have our imports here, the GBP/USD, and we also have our model file here, this neural Rampage XAUSD.pkl. This file is actually more brilliant than 80% of traders out there, right, on Trading Gold, and I'm going to tell you why in a moment. So let's just look at the download historical data section. This is where we can download historical data from our broker. It's very important that you do so if you want to be trading in the forex market. If you want to perform your financial analysis, you should download historical data from the broker that you're going to be trading with. It's very important that you do so. So we imported pandas, dates and time, and MetaTrader 5, and then we initialized our MT5, and we imported data. You can see the from date is 2012. That's the maximum for our broker, and it should also be the maximum for yours as well. And we also have the to date time, which is the current date time, and we imported data. You can see the XAUUSD. This is the symbol that we are importing, and if it's probably a different symbol that you want to import, maybe it has the dash and I, you can do that as well, but this is the symbol we are going to be trading. And then we have our rates here, which we converted to data frame, and we set the date time to the normal date time. You can see the data here, and then we proceeded to copy out the time, open, high, low, close, and the tick volume. We're not going to be needing the spread and the real volume for this financial analysis. So we're able to import the data here. We save that as a CSV file, and you can see that data here. All right, the XAUUSD 3.82 MB. All right, so we proceeded to ChatGPT here, and then we asked ChatGPT to build a trend trading strategy for forex pairs. All right, and the idea around it is to build a trading strategy and then to use logistic regression to improve this strategy. All right, so we asked ChatGPT to come up with a unique trade trading strategy that does not perform poorly when the market is ranging, and also to maybe tell us how we can use logistic regression to improve this strategy. Logistic regression is a part of machine learning strategies, and there are a lot of them, but logistic regression is just one of them. Okay, so ChatGPT proceeded to reply to this message with a potential trend trading strategy that we could consider. And the first point it gave us here was to identify the trend. So using technical analysis tools such as the moving average or trend lines to identify the direction of the trend. Okay, and the second one here is to confirm the trend using additional technical indicators such as the RSI and the MACD to confirm the strength of the trend. And the third point here is to determine the entry and exit points. And then the fourth point here is to manage the trade. All right, so we are supposed to have some sort of trade manager, and we did that in our framework. So we don't need to, create this section here using ChatGPT. We already have a trade manager that manages our trade for us in our framework. So it also said to improve the strategy using logistic regression, you could use it to predict the direction of the trend based on historical data. This would involve training a binary classification model using tools such as price action, technical indicators, and other relevant market data. Once the model has been trained, you can use it to predict whether the market is likely to be an uptrend or downtrend, and then adjust our trading strategy accordingly, which is super important. So for example, if the model predicts an uptrend, you can look for a long entry point and avoid short positions. Conversely, if the model predicts a downtrend, you can look for short entry positions and avoid long positions. By using this approach, you can potentially improve the accuracy of your trading decisions and reduce the impact of ranging markets on your performance. All right, so we proceeded to ask it to have, long, short, and neutral positions only. So basically, the strategy that I love creating are strategies that doesn't use stop loss and take profits. All right, and I know you guys are going to, feel like stop loss and take profits are very important for trading strategies out there. But I prefer to have a stop out system. A stop out system is basically where you have a stop out function that automatically converts any position you're on, either a buy or sell position, into a neutral position the moment your account equity gets to a certain threshold. Let's say you're supposed to you have a maximum risk of about 2% in a day, right? So maybe for those of you that are using maybe FTMO or MFF or funded account evaluation, you can use this as well. So let's say you have a maximum equity threshold of about 2% to risk per day. You can have a stop out, all right? So once your account loses 2% of your equity, your positions are automatically going to be closed, right? I prefer that to having a defined stop loss or take profit. So that's what we are going to be using here in this strategy. We have long, short, and neutral positions. Okay, so you can see it revised our strategy using the long, short, and the neutral positions here. And I'm not really going to go into all of this here, but you can also read this. I'll be dropping these files on Trading Kernel Stack. That's our community for trading. You can join our machine learning group. I'm going to be dropping these files there. Okay, awesome. So I asked it for a name, and then it proceeded to give me a name, and I asked it to give us the code for the first section. Remember, this first section was to identify the trend. So I asked it to provide us with a code that can help us identify the trend. So it used the moving average. All right, so let's just go to our MT5 here and add a moving average. All right, so I'm just going to insert indicators, trend, and then I'm going to add the moving average. So I'm going to add the 200 first. So I'm going to minimize this out so you can see the 200 moving average here. So I'm then going to insert the trend and moving average. I'm going to import the 50 moving average. I think I'm going to color this red. Okay, so basically, ChatGPT told us that this is the trading strategy that we can use to identify an uptrend. Okay, so if the 50 moving average is above the 200 moving average, it's an uptrend. Let me just go back here. You can see we defined the 50 moving average and also the 200 moving average, right? So if the 50 moving average is above the 200 moving average, the trend direction is an uptrend. And else, if the 50 moving average is below the 200 moving average, the trend direction is a downtrend. And also, if the 50 moving average is equal to the 200 moving average, the trend direction is sideways. Right, so you can see on our MT5 here, this looks like an uptrend. You can see here where the 50 moving average is above the 200 moving average, and that indicates an uptrend. And if I go back here also, you can see where the 50 moving average is below the 200 moving average, and that indicates a downtrend as well. Now there are some periods in between where we won't have a clear trend. All right, for example here where the 50 moving average is above the 200 and also where it's below, right? There's no clear trend here. The market was basically ranging, and we are going to come to that in a moment. Okay, so also let's go back to ChatGPT. We added that into our financial analysis. Let me just go over here. This is our financial analytics file, and we imported pandas, numpy, matplotlib, talib, and pickle. Pickle is going to be what we're going to be using to save our binary file, and talib is what we use to get our indicator values, and pandas and numpy are what we're going to be using for calculations. Okay, so We have our start date and our end date of our backtesting to be 2012 and 2020 respectively. And the reason why I use these dates manually is because I like to do a sort of visual analysis on whatever I am building. Right? I want to make sure that in this period I have the market ranging, I have the market trending downwards, and I have the market trending upwards as well. So I basically want to cover every aspect of what the markets can do, because in the future the markets could be trending or ranging. I don't know what the market is going to be doing. I want to make sure that I have the optimal performance. All right, if you train your data on when the market was trending and when the market begins to range, you find out that your trading strategy might not perform as well as it would have when the market would have been trending. Okay, so I imported the CSV file we downloaded previously, and we created a returns column here, which we plotted here. All right, plotted our clues rather, but we created our returns column as well. So we have our clues here. You can see the clues, the plot of the clues price for gold. So gold was started at about 1,600 and then went down to a low of about 1,100. It's currently as at 2020 was at 1,500. Right, so we proceeded to create our direction column. So our direction column basically tells us where the price went, all right, where the price of a particular candle went. All right, if it's a bullish candle, it's going to be +1. If it's a bearish candle, it's going to be -1. And if there's no absolute direction, it's going to be 0. All right, so we created the value counts. We want to see the measure of the candles. So we had 23,585 bearish candles, and then we had 23,564 bullish candles, and then we had 159 indecisive candles. All right, so for our indicator parameters, for the fast SMA, which is supposed to be 50, we changed that value to 5. All right, and for the slow MA, which is supposed to be 200, we changed that value to 50. Now, this is the optimal values which we got from our backtester class, and I am not really going to go over this backtester class to show you how I worked around them, but they're going to be available on Trading Kernel Stack for you. All right, and I'm going to show you how to instantiate the class and how to backtest your values as well. So for these 3 values here, the fast SMA, the slow SMA, and the RSI period, we backtested that using the normal backtester class. And for the RSI, for the upper RSI, the lower RSI, and the lags, we backtested that using another backtester class. Okay, so let's go back to ChatGPT and let's look at, remember we were at the identify the trend section. So let's look at the confirm the trend section. All right, to confirm the trend here, I asked it, now let's move to 2, write the code to confirm the trend using additional technical indicators such as the relative strength index or the moving average, convergence, divergence, which is the MACD, to confirm the strength of the trend. All right, so it proceeded to give us a code. This code used the Euro USD, but we are currently working on gold, right? So we have a RSI, which is uses the time period, which is the 14 time period, and then to determine the trend strength, if the RSI is greater than 70, the market is currently overbought. Okay, and if the RSI is less than 30, the market is oversold. Right, so it proceeded to explain that to us here. So let's proceed to see how we use that on our financial analysis section. So we basically added the moving average here, the columns for the moving average, and the RSI as well. If you should notice, we're not copying the exact same code like we should be from ChatGPT. All right, we are creating our own trading strategy. So we are using our code, but we are taking information from what ChatGPT has provided for us, rather. So we have our fast SMA, we have our slow SMA, and then we have our RSI. So these are the indicators that ChatGPT asked us to use in order to build this strategy. So we created our position to be 0, created our position, and that position is currently set to 0. And these are our current conditions. All right, so for the long condition section, which is the condition which would require to enter into a buy position, we want to make sure that the fast SMA, which is the 5-period SMA, is greater than the slow SMA, which is the 50-period SMA. Let me just go back here and see if I can, properties, and I'm going to make this is the 200, so I'm going to make this the 50. And for this one here, properties, I'm going to make this 5. Okay, awesome. So I'm just going to zoom in here. Awesome. So if our 5 SMA is lower than the 50 SMA, which is currently lower than 50 SMA, we should currently go into a short position. All right, but if this value is higher than this value, we should go into a long position. All right, awesome. So let's look at that here. This is the exact values that they gave us here. And then for the second buy condition, we want to make sure that the RSI is actually lower than the upper RSI, all right, which is currently set at 80. All right, so let me just add the RSI here so we can get a visual in depth of how this strategy should work. Okay, I'm going to insert indicators, oscillators, relative strength index. Let me just proceed to see what value we used. So 10. I'm going to set that to 10. Okay, so we have our RSI here. All right, also, so we currently have our RSI here. And the idea behind this is to look at the RSI and the moving average as well. In this case here, we have the 5-period SMA to be lower than the 200-period SMA. And then we proceed to look at the RSI. All right, the RSI value is currently at 37.84. And if we go to our financial analysis class here, our lower RSI is 20. Okay, so if you look at our sell condition here, slow SMA to be greater than the fast SMA, all right, and the RSI to be greater than the lower RSI. All right, so our slow SMA here, which is the 50 SMA, is greater than the 5-period SMA, all right, and our RSI is currently greater than 20. You can see that value is 38.05. So obviously we can go into a sell position, all right, according to these long and short conditions here. All right, it's a very simple strategy. And then we proceeded to add our conditions here to include these conditions in our position section. And viewing our position section, you can see that we were in buy position 22,652 times, and we were in a short position 22,651 times, and we're in a neutral position 1,957 times. All right, so we proceeded to create our trading cost, which is our average trading cost for gold. You can see we have that value here as well. We proceeded to create our strategy, which is the current position, the shifts of the current position by the returns, right? Multiply the value. We also added our absolute trade section and the strategy, which would now be the strategy multiplied by the trade times the trading cost. All right, trading costs are very important to include in the strategy. All right, so you can see here we have our strategy here, we have our position. You can see this is currently in a buy position and also buy position here as well. Okay, so this is just the start and the end of the data that you could see here. You can also see the trade section here. Okay, so looking at our trades here, we looked at the sum of our returns and our strategy. So our strategy outperformed our returns, and the return section, you can see where we created that initially, simply means buy and hold. All right, so let's say you bought gold around here and you held that up till here. All right, that is what we are trying to outperform. That is what we are using as our ground test value. So we outperform that value. You can see our strategy returned 1.462579 and our returns was 0.942049. And this simply means that our strategy was able to return about 46.2% profit, why our returns was obviously in a loss, about 6% loss. All right, so we added our cumulative strategy and our cumulative returns, and we're able to plot the strategy and the return. So you can see how our strategy performed, and you can see the default returns here. Okay, so we proceeded to use logistic regression to improve our trading performance. Remember what ChatGPT told us here. All right, if I go over to this up strategy, you can see where it says to improve this strategy using logistic regression, you could use it to predict the direction of the trend based on historical data. All right, for example, if the model predicts an uptrend, you can look for long entry points and avoid short positions, right? And that's exactly what we are going to do now. Okay, so from sklearn.linear model, we imported logistic regression, right? You can copy this whenever you want to import logistic regression. We're supposed to add this here in our initial import file. We just proceeded to add this here so that everything about logistic regression would be here. We start from here. Okay, so we proceeded to create our lags, and our lag simply means the values we'll be using to predict the current data. And for the futures, you can see for the futures here, we also said we can use features such as price action, technical indicators, and other relevant market data. But for our financial analysis section, the features we used here was just the direction. I remember in initial financial analysis section here, where we said the direction was to find out whether the candle was bullish, bearish, or indecisive. All right, so that's the column that we used for the future, all right, to train our logistic regression model. Right, so for F in features, we just had to loop over through them and then create lags. We're basically creating a lags of the direction. Let me just show you guys that here. So you can see we currently have direction lag 1, 2, 3, 4. You can see we have our lags before, and these values was this value here, this lag value was also optimized as well. Okay, so it was optimized with these two values here for the upper RSI and the lower RSI. Right, so maybe you can add other features here, and it could actually prove to build a more profitable strategy. But we want this strategy to be simple, all right, as simple as possible. And then we proceeded to view data here. I just showed you that, and then we instantiated the logistic regression class, adding C values to be 1 e raised to power 7. Our maximum iterations is about 100,000. The multi-class was OVR. All right, it's very important that you take this into account whenever you're creating a model. So the next thing we did was to fit our data. Right, fit our data using the data.columns. The columns here are these lag values. Right, so created our data using the columns, and then when we view the data here, we now have a new column here called the prediction. Right, so this prediction basically predicts the current direction of the market. Right, if that's going to be bullish, or if the candle is going to be bearish, or if the candle is going to be indecisive. All right, so we viewed the value count of the prediction, and we're able to get 23,638 bullish candles and 23,618 bearish candles. Right, so we look at our hit ratio here, which basically our hits. So we looked at the currents, we measured the data.direction and data.prediction. All right, and we're able to get a positive value of 24,559 and negative values of 22,539, which was our missed values, and then our neutral values of 158. Okay, so we also try to modify our logistic regression, our default strategy using logistic regression. So basically what we want to do now is to look at the data frame, look at our position data frame, and wherever we have a buy position, we want to check if the predicted value was also a buy position. So where the both values are buy positions, we want to go into a buy trade. So basically we are checking for where both positions, both values were 1, and for the sell condition we are checking for where both values were -1. You can see it like a double check, and we created a new column called P position. All right, so where condition 1 and condition 2 is equal to these values here, we want to go into a buy position. All right, otherwise we go into a neutral position. And where this condition, sell conditions also were equal to -1, we want to go into a sell position. Otherwise we want to hold our previous position here. All right, so looking at our value counts now, we were in a neutral position 24,000 times. You can see the improvements. And then for the buy position, we're in a buy position 11,000 times, and in a sell position about 11,000 times as well. Okay, so we also created our strategy, a very similar thing here, and you can see our strategy now returned 2.043930. okay, which was roughly about 104%, and returns was also in a loss, right? No more changes here as well. So you can see where we plotted our cumulative strategy. You can see this blue line represents the strategy, and the green line represents our cumulative returns. So you can see how our cumulative strategy performed over the period of about 8 years. Okay, so you can see how our strategy performed for gold, and you can see how the cumulative returns performance was as well. So we proceeded to forward test this strategy. Right, so now we're basically forward testing the same on gold, and we are forward testing to the end of our data frame, which is the current date and time. We have our returns, we have our directions, and we're proceeding to forward test this strategy. So we had positive returns of about 1.25, which is about 25% on our cumulative returns. On our cumulative strategy returned about 2.11, which is about 111% profit. Right, so you can see from 2020 up to 2023, we had a positive returns for our strategy, and you can see how beautiful this chart looks. All right, it wasn't beautiful at first until we did the optimization and we got the optimal values, and then we proceeded to look at our signals, buy and sell signals. And let me just show you guys this for 2023. All right, so this is the 2020. This is the 3rd of March, and you can see we have the green for buy signals. So wherever we have this green arrow here, it's a buy signal, and wherever we have the red arrow, it's a sell signal, and wherever we have this black circle, it's a neutral position. Right, so basically you can see we have buy positions in an uptrend, and in a downtrend we have sell positions here, and in an uptrend we have buy positions here, in a downtrend we have sell positions here, and then we have buy positions here, we have buy positions here, we have sell positions here, we have sell positions here, buy positions here, sell positions here. All right, so let me just view this performance for you guys to see how the performance was. So this is the default 2023 performance for gold. You can see how the performance is, and when you look here, you can see we have a dip here. All right, a dip here, and if you go up to look at the visual analysis, you can see that the bot was currently buying where the price was going up. All right, so you can see we sold here, the price went up, and that's what caused this dip. All right, so we also proceeded to look at the most recent data here to look at what's currently going on, which says we are currently in a sell position. This is the 3rd of 27th, and we're currently working on the 1 hour time frame as well. I probably did state that out, but if you go to our historical data here, we are currently working on the hour 1 time frame. All right, that's very important. So you can see that we are currently in a sell position. Okay, and we saved that file here. save that file here, which is our model, and then we looked at the returns. Okay, so we looked at the returns here. So let me just have a view of the backtester class. Let me just show you guys a little bit about the backtester class here. And you can see we imported the backtester class, we added our values here, and then we did the backtest here, and we got on optimization, we got 550, and for the RSI we got 10. That's why you have those values there. And for this one here, we have 80 for the upper RSI. For the lower RSI we had 20, and then for the Lagrange we had 4. And these are the values that we used in our financial analysis section to get these files. All right, so if I go to my Pycharm here and look at this strategy here, this is basically everything we just showed you guys on our financial analysis. So we've integrated that into our trading strategy here. And if I can show you the values on our MT5 trader class here, you can see those values here: 5, 50, 10, 80, 20, and 4. Right, and those are the values that you can see here currently. Although we are currently testing this in the 1 hour time frame here, and as you can see here, we are currently in a short position. All right, but as you can see, we also have our take profit here and a stop loss as well. If I can zoom out here, you can see we have the stop loss and the take profits. All right, so the stop loss is set to 5%, and the take profit is set to about 1%. Right, you can see that 500 and 100, and I have that as enabled. Right, I just wanted to check if we can have a virtual stop loss as well. You can always add that whenever you want in your trading strategy as well. Okay, so if you have any questions, guys, feel free to reach out to me. I'll be dropping this entire section here. And remember, guys, you can actually ask ChatGPT to provide you with any unique trading strategy. It mustn't be a trend trading strategy. It could be a range trading strategy. It could be a momentum strategy. It could be a high frequency trading strategy. Whatever strategy, you could ask ChatGPT to provide for you. And then you can also use logistic regression. Remember, logistic regression is just one part of machine learning. There are a lot of other machine learning strategies that you can use to improve the trading performance of the initial strategy. Right, you can also use 2 machine learning strategies to improve the performance as well. Right, but that's a very complicated part, and we're not going to go into that in this video. The main advantage of this, like I said earlier, is that you can actually build using any unique strategy using ChatGPT, and you can also use logistic regression to improve that strategy based on the security you're trading on. So if you have any questions, guys, feel free to reach out to me at the Trading Kernel support team. You can see we'll be dropping these files on Trading Kernel Stack as well. If you have any questions, just head over to Trading Kernel Stack and join our machine learning group. So you can see this is the 2012 data, and this is the 2020 to 2023. So we did a back test, and we also did a forward test as well. And we compared this forward test data to what we currently have, and it's currently working. All right, guys. So I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.